What's up, everybody? It's Alex Leak and Friends NFL Podcast, back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Will back on the show. Will, good to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, good times as always. And we got Malcolm on the show as well. Malcolm.
Back. Hey, man, we ready for part two. Trying to get ready for the future, the next generation.
The draft, less than a week away, a couple days away, Thursday night. Can't wait.
Let's go.
Let's get into this. I mean, so we're all Bears fans. What are we hoping for the Bears? I mean, do you think are we going to trade up? Are we staying put? Are we getting a quarterback? What do you think, Will?
I think we're getting a quarterback, but the question is where? I think Ryan Pace is going to try his best to trade up in the NFL draft, but a lot of that's out of his control. The other team has to be willing to drop all the way to 20. If he's trying to get in the top 5, he's trying to get in the top 10. And I think, to me, that's the stickler. Ryan Pace is willing to do it, but are they willing to deal with him? And he will offer the world. He will offer 3 firsts, to try to get up there and get whoever's left, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Mac Jones. He's going to try to get one of them. But if we can't, we're going to have to regroup, and then you start to look at the second-tier quarterbacks, So I go back and forth between, what I think they're going to do, what I want them to do. And it's tough, man. And we're right on the brink.
We're in a tough spot right now. It's a major draft for us to get going in the right direction. The last couple of years have been so frustrating, playing 500 ball and can't beat the division rivals. What do you think, Malcolm? Are you in favor of trying to trade up and get a quarterback? Do you want to stay put and take a tackle? What do you think?
Man, listen, everybody that knows me knows I am team. It's not all about the quarterback, although the quarterback is incredibly important. So for me, there's 2 quarterbacks I'm looking at. I'm looking at Justin Fields. I'm looking at Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. If their names don't begin and end with those 2 words, then we're just going to take our chances and build up the rest of our team with some tackles. I would like to take 2 of them. I would like to take a left tackle and a right tackle, or someone for the interior, because I feel like this team needs to. Part of the reason that we struggled is we need to get a little bit of our nasty back. In those trenches. And that's the reason why we really couldn't see much of anything from Nick Foles last year. Not because he's a terrible quarterback, but because he requires adequate protection without having to scheme, guys, and protect guys, on the interior. So for me, I say, listen, if we can get one of those 2 guys, I say possibly. Trey Lance is interesting for me because I see the talent, I see the upside, but he scares me too. He scares me from a trade-up perspective because he did have a really good season the year before last. And his stats sound really good. I think it's 28 touchdowns passing. I think it's another 10 or so rushing, 1,100 yards. Mm-hmm. But I would have liked to have seen them dominate through the air a little bit more. And so
he didn't throw the ball that much.
So I feel like with Trey Lance, it's so much of it is projection. I like what I see. I see the potential, but we're not really basing it off performance, right? So for example, with Josh Allen, we saw him do some of those dynamic things at Wyoming, and we could at least write it off and say, okay, he's making a lot of off-schedule plays. He's throwing from different arm angles. He's got the arm strength. You see it. With Trey Lance, for me, it was really a power run offense with a lot of play action, where he had a lot of wide open pockets, and he delivered it, really nice deep ball, but I feel like that transition to the NFL is going to take some time. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, it's really difficult for me to trade up to the top 10 for Trey. I wouldn't be mad if we get him in the teens or the 20s, but I feel like if they make that type of investment, they better be ready with a heck of a good plan. So that's my only concern with Trey Lance.
That's my concern, is that I agree. I think Fields and Lance have the highest ceiling, the highest potential. But if you're the Bears, what have they shown us that they have the ability to develop talent, especially at the quarterback position? I mean, in their entire franchise history, but this, Nagy especially, we've had, Foles fit his offensive style to a T. And I like what you're saying as far as get some nasty back in the trenches. We have David Montgomery. He's shown he's a good running back. So if we were to run the ball, you could win some games with Foles and Dalton. And I would be in favor if we're in a spot to do so. I would like to take Kellen Mond. If we can get an offensive lineman, Kellen Mond has a little bit of that upside. He reminds me a little bit of like Russell Wilson. You can get him late. Maybe he's got potential.
Mm-hmm.
But, Fields and Lance, high ceiling, but they need time to develop. And can we even do that? And that's
I'll say that the answer is we don't know. Right?
Yeah.
So obviously people know that I've been pro Mitch for a while, but once again, sometimes guys are just not a good fit for coaches and players and vice versa. So I can't say what Coach Nagy can and can't do.
Yeah.
I think it's important to separate Fields from Lance. Yeah. Because I feel like we've seen Justin perform at a high level and when it matters most in those championship games versus top competition. So I feel like we have not seen that from Trey. So I feel like both could use a little bit of time, but I feel much more comfortable making a huge trade up for Justin Fields than I would for Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields is more pro ready. Like outside of, to me, it goes Trevor Lawrence, then Justin Fields as far as pro ready. Zach Wilson may have a higher ceiling, but he's not. He doesn't have the games that Justin Fields. He was playing San Diego State University and guys like that. That's my only knock on him, is that his competition was just not good.
Coastal Carolina gave it to him.
Yeah. I ain't gonna knock him for that, but his level of competition, he was not beating. He's beating North Texas. I looked at the schedule. Boise State probably was the worst. Boise State and Coastal Carolina probably the best teams that he played. Trey Lance, if you get Trey Lance, you have to get him knowing that he's going to sit the whole year. Yes. You might as well strap up and get ready for 16, 17 games of Andy Dalton. And if Andy Dalton gets hurt, you're going to have some spot starts from Nick Foles. That boy needs to sit down and learn the defense. I mean, learn how to read defense, learn how to hit. That's things he needs to correct. If you get him, I don't mind them trading into the top 10 to get him, because I think that's where you're going to have to go to get him. Because I don't think, I'll be shocked if he goes out the top 10. And I really want one of those top 5 guys. Yeah. Mac Jones would be my 5th guy. Now him, I would be willing to go into the teens to get him. I wouldn't trade all the way into the top 10 to get Mac Jones because his ceiling is lower, because from an athletic standpoint, he's good at processing. He has a good enough arm. He can make throws. He doesn't throw on the run as well as like Trey Lance and Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. And it's right there. I was watching the tape by Kurt Warner was breaking it down. And he ran out the pocket and tried to throw on a run, and a couple of his throws went in the dirt. That's just not part of his game.
Other ones just gonna sit up like ducks. They're gonna sit up there and wobble a little bit, like wiffle ball.
Yeah, that's not his game. It's not his game. And I like Kellen Mond too. The one thing I had to get over Kellen Mond is that he kind of looks robotic, but he comes from that Jimbo Fisher school where they have the high elbows.
Yeah,
when they throw, like, it doesn't look cool. Like when Zach Wilson runs, he got the ball like kind of hanging. And he like slings it. Kellen Mond runs, but he just never breaks that. Even when he's escaping the pocket, he still has those high elbows.
Yeah.
The ball comes out nice, but it just looks robotic. And he runs a 4.6. But you're like, dang, this dude, he slung that ball though. But it looks funny because he has those elbows. Like Winston used to do that too. Yeah, Winston, Aaron Rodgers used to do that too. People forget Cal. Aaron Rodgers used to run around like that,
I mean, that's the thing that's often not spoken about with Aaron Rodgers. Hindsight is 20/20. Aaron Rodgers literally had 3 years to work on his game. Yeah. And he threw the ball completely different. Like when he finally got his shot to start than he did at Cal.
Yeah.
And he said himself that he learned a lot from that creativity from sitting behind someone like Brett Favre. I think from my view, from a quarterback standpoint, in my opinion, I think it's a pretty deep quarterback draft. Meaning, so the way I look at guys, I think about it not in can they be a quality starter, but also, at worst, can they be a quality backup that could maybe be a fringe starter? To me, there's a lot of intriguing options throughout the draft. We got Kellen Mond. Obviously, a lot of folks are talking about Davis Mills. Yeah. We got my guy Jamie Newman from out here in Wake Forest, set out from Georgia. My view is one of the things that we all agree upon as a fan base is Bears need to take multiple shots this year. So for me, if they do not trade up into the top 10, my view is take a shot on one of the mid-round guys in rounds 3 to 5, and then get ready to load up and try again next year. Yeah. And because at worst, you're just going to get 2 talented young quarterbacks that hopefully you end up maybe with a Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts situation where you let them battle it out. see who comes out on top. In the worst case, you have a really nice trade asset a couple of years from now. I just feel like that's the way the Bears have to go about it. For me, the days of me, even though I love Justin Fields, I can't look to a 20-year-old as my savior, for my team. I think that's a lot of pressure. There's a lot to ask. So for me, I'm really thinking about, let's take multiple swings. Let's give ourselves multiple chances. And if we do that consistently, we have a shot. We just really historically have never done it that way.
Now, how would you guys, I think there's a pretty realistic option. If the 49ers, all the experts are saying it's Mac Jones, the 49ers.
I believe it when I see it. I believe it when I see it.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, that'd be crazy if it happens. But so let's say that happens. There's a scenario where Justin Fields falls to 7 and the Lions take him at 7. How would we Bears fans feel about Fields wearing a Lions uniform?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. See, I think Will pretty much summed it up, and here's the reason why. Not only do they get a high upside quarterback, if fans haven't been paying attention, the Lions have been building a really nice organization over the past year. They got a lot of former players, a lot of former coaches that is in the GM seats. That's also went on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I don't know how I feel about their head coach, but directionally, and Jared Goff is not terrible, right? Yeah. So I don't think we were going to be able to line up the Lions for 2 easy wins this year like we have, last couple of years either. So
lucky to split, to be honest. Yeah.
Honestly. So I feel like honestly, last year we split. We shouldn't have split. Man, God, we got you're giving me PTSD from a Fetty.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you mentioned that.
Miss getting the fumble. It was like the worst.
It was the worst play.
The only bad thing that could happen happened. It was terrible.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Matt, no, you know what? Just don't get sacked, and if you do get sacked, don't fumble. And that's what happened.
A comedy of errors. But no, I think it would be a collective punch to the gut, Alex. It would be terrible because Detroit's going to be looking like they're going to be pretty good. If they get that, if he get Justin at quarterback.
Yeah, it's making me depressed. Like, you want to see me mad? Like, I don't even like whoever the Bears pick ain't even gonna matter. Like, I'm just be pissed the whole time.
Because at that
unless
point,
we trade for Russell Wilson.
Look, at that point, if they have a QB room of Justin Fields and Jared Goff, both of their quarterbacks are better than our quarterbacks at that point.
Yeah.
Number QB1 and QB2.
So we haven't gotten really to talk about the Andy Dalton decision. I mean, I'll be on this podcast this summer, and we'll see what happens in the draft. But right now, I'm going to be like, guys, don't go to the games this year. Like, I'm upset. I'm personally hurt by the Andy Dalton signing.
Personally hurt. He's that bad.
I think we're looking at 6-7 wins as our ceiling. I think it's going to be a rough year. What are you thinking by the Dalton?
I'm going to give y'all a little bit more positivity than that. Dalton isn't like – I'm going to put it like he's not I wouldn't say he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not the top half of the league. Yeah. He's Andy Dalton, right? I literally watched his games with the Cowboys. I even watched when he played in the laser, which makes me upset that Matt Nagy took over the play calls again because I was actually watching it to see how he played with Bill Lazor. Hopefully he does some of that, but I digress. The line in Dallas wasn't good. They had good weapons, but the line was bad. And I think the last 7 games, he threw like 13 touchdowns, 6 picks, 2,000 yards. That's what he is. Like people love Alex Smith, but Alex Smith was kind of the similar type of quarterback. And I think that's why Nagy and them picked him. Where he's a little mobile. He's not like Nick Foles. Nick Foles is a complete statue. He can't run at all. Yeah. Andy Dalton can escape the pocket and pick up 10 yards. He's not as fast as Mitch. I will say that. He's not as athletic as Mitch. And he's a little bit better of thrower. Like, he's a veteran. He doesn't throw a lot of deep shots, a lot of short, intermediate. It's quick. He's a veteran. When you think of a baseline quarterback, Andy Dalton.
I feel like Andy Dalton is what they tried to sell us that Nick Foles. Last year.
Because he's better than Nick Foles. I watched it and I was like, oh shit.
Because he does have a little bit of wiggle, so he can get out. I think, when I was looking at some of the statistics, he was like top 10 in intermediate accuracy, according to a couple spots. So that was good. I mean, I'm not upset. We both know, Mitch and Nagy had a toxic relationship, so we need a change there. That wasn't going to work, and they needed insurance from a capable starter who's familiar with the system, and Andy fits that bill. I think in terms of the ceiling, my ceiling is probably 8, 8 and 8. If they get hot, 9 and 7.
I'm the same. I
I
feel the same.
But but the thing, they're in a tough situation, so I'm not mad at the organization. I feel like in many ways the chickens are coming home to roost a little bit just in terms of how the roster was built. And now, if you want something to look positive about, I think that Ryan Pace had a good draft last year.
Yeah, he did.
If he stacks another one this year, with some infusion of young talent that puts us in a good situation, quarterback or no quarterback, I feel like, that at least gives us some hope to look forward to. So I'm not ready. I'm not going to boycott. I don't know if I'm gonna watch, all 16, like with my heart all invested.
Expectations are big. I think in 2019 we thought we were going to go to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
After 2018, and then I think that because it didn't happen, that set the organization, the team, the fan base back so much because people were just so hurt. And then in 2020 it was just like we started off hot, and then like the offensive line just disintegrated, dude. It disintegrated. Everybody was getting hurt. Everybody had COVID, and then we had Nick Foles, the one guy you cannot put behind a hurt offensive line. And he was just like, dude, there was times he was like literally sprinting backwards and just chucking the ball.
The Super Bowl,
He was throwing up mad YOLO balls.
He was like, YOLO, I ain't about to die. I'm rich. I already got an MVP in my trophy case. I ain't about to die, And then eventually they settled down and put Mitch in and then put Bars and Mustafa and and put a Fetty at right tackle.
I mean, honestly, what I'm really curious about, Will, I really, and I think you alluded to it earlier, is I think a lot of fans were disappointed that Bill wasn't going to straight up be the play caller. Even though I know he's going to have a lot of influence on the game plan, I do feel like regardless of what offensive line talent they get in the draft, because it's going to take some time for them to grow and acclimate themselves, I feel like that version of the offense toward the end of the year, maybe opened up a little bit more, is probably the best fit for this team. And I'm curious to know, like, is Coach Nagy going to embrace that?
Yeah.
Or is he going to do what he tried to do with Nick Foles in the beginning that dang near got him killed?
When he went down and carried him off the field, I thought he was done for it, man. Vikings game. I was like, it's been a good run, Nick.
For me, I'm also a little worried at like receiver. So I'm glad we got Allen Robinson back, but is it long term? Is it just this year? Is he going to one out after this year? I like Mooney a lot. I like Cole Kmet, but other than that, Anthony Miller's kind of lost me recently, and Javon Wims hasn't been the guy we wanted him to be, and
he ain't gonna be on the roster in 2022.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we need to take a receiver as well, but Dalton with A-Rob and Mooney and Kmet, I guess there's upside there a little bit, but I would still, we need offensive line, hopefully maybe a wide receiver as well.
Yeah, we need some reinforcement there. I know we brought in, who's the speedster?
Marquise Goodwin.
So we got some more speed, Marquise Goodwin. I do think we
a good one,
we essentially need an A-Rob replacement, I think is what, so A-Rob complement for this year, but a replacement for when he inevitably leaves after the year. I feel like that relationship is, you should never call something irreparable. But I feel like I don't blame the Bears. I don't blame Allen Robinson for how he feels. The Bears are doing what they think is the best business decision for them, and Allen Robinson feels underappreciated. It's hard for me to envision a scenario where he wants to come back to Chicago next year, especially with the quarterback uncertainty that we're probably going to have.
That's the key. That's what I was going to say. If he stays or leaves, I think it's going to be dependent on what happens with the quarterback position. If they get Justin Fields, Trey Lance, even if they bring him along slowly, but he's at practice. He's seeing how these guys are, even Mac Jones, and they're tearing it up. Like Pat Mahomes was tearing it up when he was with the Chiefs, but they sat him on the bench because Alex Smith was playing so well.
Yeah,
he sees it, he'll stay. But I think that's the key. Is if it's just mediocre quarterback play and he can leave, he's not going to resign. But if he plays well, I think the receiver, I'm not as worried about it. I will still add someone to the receiver, but to me, my priority in this NFL draft is when I said this on Twitter, is quarterback and tackle. That's to me, that's one. And I mean, unless it's like the Bears sit at 20, and I think the same quality tackle I can get in the second round is there in the first round, and I'm looking at, let's say, like Rashad Bateman and Waddle falls to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, damn, this dude's just too good. And I know at least if I can give Dalton's mediocre quarterback some weapons, I can do something, because he's shown that he can do that when he had AJ Green and all those guys, you know. And, but Tariq Cohen's back. I think that's an underrated aspect of this team, because he's a receiver out of the backfield, you know. So that was a big loss. David Montgomery catches the ball out of the backfield. You still got Kmet. You still got Graham for the red zone, even though he's old and slow. He's good at catching red zone touchdowns. You got Mooney. You got Robinson. And I would make Miller and Goodwin battle it out for that number 3 spot. Goodwin's a burner, dude. He gets hurt, but he's a burner when he does play. So they got some weapons, you know. They got some weapons. They're not the cupboard isn't bare, in my opinion. But, you know, I will still add to it, though.
Yeah, ideally, I would love to get Kellen Mond later, get offensive line, and, you know, maybe come, closer to the start of the season, I'm feeling more optimistic. With the Dalton move, and what do you guys think? I mean, based on the way the year ended, did you guys think that Pace or Nagy, either one, was going to be let go? And what do you think of the talk about potentially Pace could have been given like a hush-hush contract extension, you know, because the move like Dalton, to me, screams, I know I'm not on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll be honest with you. I do. So a lot of the reports that we read is that ownership really does like what Ryan Pace has done. Yeah. And I think, you know, Will did a really interesting Twitter thread on this over the past year. When you compare Ryan Pace's draft and free agent acquisition record against other GMs, I think it was like top 10.
Yeah.
You know,
it's pretty good.
You know, he had done really, really well. Obviously, you know, we missed on the quarterback, you know, and, you know, whether we missed on the head coach, you know, I think we'll find out for sure this year, you know. Yeah. But I think, you know, honestly, I do not think that it is a prove-it year for Ryan Pace.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. But it would not be surprising to me if they had a down year that Ryan Pace was retained and Ryan was able to go after another head coach.
Yeah.
You know, in my opinion, I think they're a tandem. And I think the Bears organization are as high on Matt Nagy as they are on Ryan Pace.
Maybe.
Something was telling to me was when Colin Cowherd, sorry, I butchered your name, bro, he came out was like, oh, Matt Nagy's a brilliant coach. I think the NFL has a different, and I have my issues with Matt Nagy. I've called it out, his jet sweeps on the first yard line. I think the NFL is higher on Matt Nagy than Bear fans are. I truly think that.
I think it's possible. I think
we're down on him.
Yeah.
But they think that Matt Nagy's he's a good coach.
I think
he got some flaws.
Yes. And I think honestly, that's why I say this is a year. I think the NFL because they saw some things his first year. They saw the creativity. Remember, Bears were one of the best deep passing attacks in the league in 2018, his first year. And Matt was known as one of the most creative coaches in the league. You know, now I think that what the league is curious about is nobody really knows outside the Bears locker room. Like, okay, was it Nagy? Was it Mitch? Was it both? Like, nobody really knows. And then Nick Foles didn't make it any better when it was shown that he really couldn't navigate, you know, an imperfect situation on the O-line.
Well, yeah, you kind of.
So I think imperfect is putting it lightly, right?
Yeah.
So I feel. So now with Andy Dalton, I think the league is evaluating, you know, Coach Nagy, you know, and I'm really interested to see what this looks like, what his offense looks like this year.
I totally agree with that part, and I think the league, like people like Nick Foles, but I still think people, and I had an Eagles, my friend is an Eagles fan. He told me this. Nick Foles is a backup, right? Mm-hmm. You come in and you just throw him in there. He's going to do what he did versus Atlanta. He's going to do what he did versus Tampa, and then he's going to come back down to earth. Yeah. And that's what he does. Yeah. He said, if you catch him while he's hot, like the Super Bowl, that's what he's going to do. At the end of 2018, when he caught us slipping, that's what he does. And then eventually, he goes to Jacksonville and just go bang. Yeah. You know, and he came here. He won a couple games, and the Atlanta game was awesome. It was like I didn't even agree that they benched Mitch in that game, and they put him in, and it was like, oh my God, I see why they benched him. This guy's, and then all of a sudden, slowly but surely, it just started going down and down and down. and that's Nick Foles. So people are like, yeah, Nick Foles got hot and he cooled off like he always does. And I don't think the NFL, just like Mitch got $2.5 million, right? He was without a job for a long time. To me, that's what the NFL told me, what they thought of each person. They were like, we think Matt Nagy's an okay quarterback, and just Mitch is limited. I don't think people think Mitch is like the most horrible quarterback in the world, but I think he's just limited throwing the ball down the field. And this year, Matt Nagy is going to get judged. I believe what you said, because I think people view Andy Dalton with more respect than probably about how we view it. They at least think he's a decent quarterback. He's not great. He's decent. He's thrown for 4,000. Yeah, he's thrown for 4,000 yards. He can throw for 3,500 yards. He can throw for 25 touchdowns. And if you can't make it work with him,
man, Nagy, he's not gonna be able to throw his hands up. Like, what do you want?
No.
What do you want from me?
This is a veteran. This is a 3-time Pro Bowler. He ain't Dak Prescott, but this ain't a super scrub.
Yeah.
Like this, this guy's has put up he got some numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, he ain't old and washed up. So if you can't, with all your picks, if you can't build a roster and at least have a decent football team with Andy Dalton with that defense, then yeah, you're exposed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It worries me that I agree with you guys. It worries me that that's what we're headed for, and I am gonna hope for the best, but I think it's gonna be a rough season. I think, and my worry is Nagy. If the NFL is higher on Nagy than we are, I would tell the NFL to watch more Bears games because.
That's part of it too. Because that's the only problem with outsiders. Like they know the Matt Nagy that they know.
Yeah.
They don't know all the ins and outs, and honestly, we don't either.
In 2018, Nagy, yeah.
So in 2018, Nagy was looking pretty good, coach of the year. So and justifiably, he should get a little bit of respect based off of that coach of the year honor that he got. And I will say, but here's what I'll say, If the Bears have a down season, what we got to look forward to is we can be in those Sam Howell sweepstakes for next year.
Well, let's get us out of here on this. We had to keep it short, but so who's your first round? Who's our first round pick? Will, who you got?
For the Bears?
Yeah, your prediction for our first round pick. This
is tough, man. I'm going to say the Bears trade up in the NFL draft. You're going to hear that doo-doo. Bears are on the clock. And my heart tells me it's Justin Fields, but I know that's probably not realistic. I think he's going to be gone. And I think it's going to be Trey Lance.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get behind Trey Lance. I could.
I think, honestly, that's my pick. I feel like it's either going to be Trey Lance because I feel like he will be available. I feel like my guess is teams' evaluations have to be mixed on him. They just have to be.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a possibility. Worst case, we come out with just a big, nasty offensive lineman, that fortifies that position on the right or the left side for many years.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And then you go back in the second round and get a guy like Kellen Mond, who they like. It's been documented. It's died down because I think they told him to chill out.
Yeah,
you need to
he's like, the Bears loving me. So I think if you want now, obviously, so I would look for Tevin Jenkins, Christian Darrisaw, those types of folks on the lineman side, and we'll see. We'll see.
That's exactly what Christian Darrisaw ideally, but he's probably gone.
He's gone. Yeah.
Yep. I would love Tevin Jenkins, and hopefully we run behind David Montgomery, and then Kellen Mond in the second round would make me happy. It's at least some upside, some potential.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm kind of old school. I'm hoping they get Javonte Williams out of Carolina too. So we can get like a little Nick Chubb 2.0 action with David Montgomery. But people say I need to get to the modern NFL, but nothing wrong with ground and pound and hit them over the top.
Let's throw it back, old school, baby.
Well, you gonna draft a running back and Matt Nagy ain't gonna use him. They already signed Damian Williams too. That's a nice pickup. I like that.
It was.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks guys for coming on. This was fun as always. I can't wait for the draft Thursday night, and looking forward to all that. So thanks for coming on. Great stuff as always, guys.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, thanks. Have a great week, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think, and have a great week.
Out, man. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bear down.
Bear down.